Good everyone. I'm Jerry Jones, joined by JJ O'Hare from the O'Hare Wealth Management Team. It is our weekly update. Today is December 5th, 2024, and you already knew that, and that's okay. We join you every week, every Thursday, for 15 minutes to talk about things of a financial nature for our clients and/or prospects who view this call either live or delayed viewing at their leisure. We always want to remind everyone, if you have a question that you would like to submit to the team for us to answer, please do not hesitate to do so. We do encourage that at service@o'harewealth.com, or you can call us at 414-644-0060 or text us. I was getting there. You young whippersnappers. Yeah. Us baby boomers talk too slowly for them. But let's dive right in. We've got a lot to unpack this week, and it's a very exciting time of year, but it's also very exciting for us. Something new coming your way this year. We're going to be talking about something that we're very passionate about. All of our topics are passionate to us, but legacy planning especially is something that we really take very seriously, and it's something that clients need to have us address for them and with them. And this month, we've got something very exciting coming your way in conjunction with that. What can we expect on this topic? You can expect a thorough review of your legacy plan, but more importantly, we've got an exciting thing that we'd like to talk to you about in relation to the holiday gift that we normally give out to our clients. You want to walk them through what that is?
Yeah, so this year we're doing something a little bit different. We made an investment going forward for all of our clients. So you're going to be getting this in the mail very, very shortly. But this comes to a sort of a perennial question that we've never really answered. We've talked about this as the market outlook many times, and we changed the name to the weekly outlook because we're trying to talk about more topics. One of the topics we get consistently is about how do I create a legacy plan and how do I protect myself? And I know recently, I think Warren Buffett made headlines talking about how he wanted to share his will and trust with his kids and making sure that legacy plan is well understood. So we're trying to make our best efforts to provide more for our clients to do exactly that. So Ever Plans and Ever Safe are both going to be provided to all of our clients going forward. So Jerry, do you want to talk a little bit about Ever Plans, and I'll talk about Ever Safe?
Absolutely, I'd love to. Ever Plans are a simple online platform that guide you step by step through organizing your legal, financial, healthcare, and personal information and wishes in one comprehensive solution. And the main thing for us is it's very secure. This is a place where your loved ones can go to find out what you wanted, how you wanted it, when you wanted it, and where you want it. This eliminates a lot of the paperwork that flies around whenever something happens and someone passes away. People are scurrying around. How do you unlock their phone? Where is the password for their laptop? This gives you a very secure and very, I believe, comprehensive platform to put all of that information into. We've already incurred the cost. We believe it's important for the team to do that. All you need to do is take the time and invest the time and energy into putting it out there and populating the platform. You will find it's very straightforward, very simple. You'll get the instructions in the mail very shortly, as JJ said. But for us, this is something that you and your family, it's a sleep at night moment, and you're really going to benefit from that. In addition to that, cybersecurity is one of those things that we've talked about at I think over the last few months, especially, but ever since we joined as a team. Cybersecurity is something that's important, and I'm going to have you walk them through what the Ever Safe portion of this is.
Yeah, so EverSafe is a credit monitoring service, and the key thing here is we deal with these events all the time. And if you're a client of ours that's gone through these events, you know kind of the hassle that it can be in your life. If you haven't gone through one, as if you remember our cybersecurity seminar from earlier this year, it's not a matter of if, it's when. This is one of our ways to help combat some of these issues. So as a matter of fact, we went through a trial period making sure the service was right for us and for our clients. And we actually had an event during that period. We caught somebody opening up a fake eBay account on behalf of one of the employees here. So for us, we were looking at better ways for people to try to avoid getting fraud and scams and things. And the best way to do it is a credit monitoring service. So for us, this is another thing we're going to offer to people. It's going to be free to our clients into perpetuity, essentially. For us, it's Christmas gifts. This year is really about peace of mind, and this is why we're talking about legacy planning.
Right.
So with that, do you have anything else you want to add on?
No, I think once again, keep an eye out to your mail. We put together a very comprehensive
Yes.
insert along with a book that will be very informational for you, coming to you directly at your home. And once you receive it, you'll be able to scan the QR code. It'll walk you through sign up. There's once again no cost to you. That's been covered by us as a team. We believe that's a great investment into you, our clients. And as JJ said, as long as you're a client, you're going to be covered. The big keys are covered, comprehensive, and security. Just keep those things in mind when you receive this in the mail.
And both of these things, these are always things you wish you'd done. I know many clients out there have been executors of like their parents' estate. This is the kind of stuff you wish they had accomplished. And by the way, if you ever have a credit issue, this is the kind of stuff you wish you had done earlier.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is preemptive, but we really think that it's very important. And since December is our legacy planning and protection month, we couldn't think of a better idea than to put this out there for everybody.
Fantastic. With that, let's jump into our normal weekly call scenario, which is I'll ask the question and JJ will try to provide an answer. Are you concerned about tariffs with the incoming administration?
Great question. So tariffs, yes. There's a lot around tariffs, and fundamentally, Milton Friedman would say tariffs don't work. And he said this about Japanese steel at the time. He said, if you're willing to take money from Japanese taxpayers as a government, subsidize steel, make the steel prices cheaper, and sell it to Americans more cheaply, we should be happy to accept the gift. That was what he said about tariffs. And he's ultimately right. The only way tariffs really work is if a country is desperate to sell you something, is willing to dump, and as a result, is going to cause you more issues at home or domestically because of that dumping of that particular product. That's really the only reason you'd ever want a tariff, and you'd have to have a desperate country. Well, problem with China is their economy is slowing, their population is shrinking. They are getting more and more desperate. And to leave the politics out of it, the real question is, what are the effects of the tariffs? Well, I'm bringing this chart. 2018, we had the tariff tiff, right? It was the trade war. I call it the tariff tiff. It was when then President Trump announced that he was going to start new tariffs on foreign powers. Well, you can see here, China, yeah, we raised tariffs in 18 pretty rapidly. Mexico, remember the Mexican trade war? That lasted an afternoon. I think the Canadian trade war lasted a day. Those went up and actually then pretty much steadily came back down. The effective tariff rate, right, is really only grown for China. And by the way, this is something businesses have known for really 5, 6, 7 years. They've been moving manufacturing to places like India and Vietnam as a response to something they thought like this might happen. But tariffs, very importantly, we kept them all during the Biden administration. And people are asking me, are they a major inflationary factor? We had them in all of 19. We didn't see massive inflation spikes in 19. Now, 2020, we had COVID. It's tough to measure. But 2021, 2022, inflation really started to take off. We've watched inflation steadily decline. The tariffs in China have not gone away. They've stayed exactly where they've been the entire time. Tariffs really are more of a one-time adjustment. And reading a paper this week from Goldman Sachs, I thought was very interesting. Their estimates are that if all the tariffs get put in place that have been proposed now against China on autos and apparel, that they could impact core PCE, right, which is the Fed's preferred measure of inflation, by a maximum of somewhere between 0.3 and 0.4%. So instead of 2% inflation, maybe we get 2.3% inflation due to the tariffs. If that's the case, I mean, not to be glib about this, but we get new inflation reports, PCE. When PCE comes out, consensus estimates are usually off by 0.2, 0.3%. It's probably going to almost be within the margin of error. Now, a full 10% all foreign trade policy, that probably is more inflationary. That probably, that might be as high as 1%, but it's really also, again, a one-time inflation increase. After that, it doesn't keep adding on. It doesn't keep growing the same way that the traditional inflation does. So would it keep us from getting that 2% target the Fed's looking for? It might delay it a little bit. It's definitely possible. But is it a major disruptor? No, there's a lot of more demographic pieces. There's a lot more fundamental pieces that build in what our inflation is going to be. It's one of the reasons we said inflation was going to go back down to closer to 2%. It wasn't because of any policy decision, it was because the overall demographics of society and how our society functions. Inflation had to go back down, and so it did. So are tariffs going to be part of it? Yes. Tariffs usually are, sort of on average, 15% of it is felt by the foreign country, 15% by the U.S. importer, and 70% is passed on to the consumer.
Mhm.
But to put all this in perspective, I know I've read some numbers out there, like as much as $1,000 to $1,200 to up to $2,500 a year in new expense costs if he gets the tariffs he wanted at the 10% level. To be truthful, the oil prices right now are under $70 a barrel, and going to 80 or $90 a barrel would probably have a far larger impact on inflation and the cost to consumers than all of these tariffs put together. So are they important for certain industries? Of course. Are they impactful? They will have an impact. I mean, it is a policy change. But the best thing that any administration can do, and this is what I would hope would be different from the last time we saw this, is clarity. So last time, and sort of jokingly, it was true. It started with washing machines, and then after felt like 300 tweets later, we had a policy. There was a lot of uncertainty, and nobody knew if they were going to be the next target of the tariff. So because of that, we actually had inflation, we had actually had industry pull back as a result in fear because of uncertainty. And this isn't uncommon that we pull back because of uncertainty.
Right.
If we get clear, concise tariffs quickly, it'll be a one-time inflationary increase. And ultimately, yeah, it's not great to have more inflation, but it'll be one time and it'll be probably relatively short-lived. And if you can see from what we've seen in the past, we had tariffs in 2018, 2019. They didn't have a major impact on inflation. And they certainly haven't stopped inflation from coming back down. So is there going to be some impact? Of course. Is it going to be a major impact? We think it'd be much more muted than maybe, the media or, certain people would like to portray it as.
Great. That takes us to our next question for today. Are you making any major changes as a result of the recent geopolitical uncertainty? And there's a lot of
Yeah, where do you want to start? France yesterday, the prime minister got a vote of no confidence that went through, so they've been ousted. Germany, I think they're doing the same thing either next week or the week after. President Zelensky of Ukraine said that he would be willing to cede part of Ukrainian land to get a peace deal as long as it involves some NATO protections, which is a complete reversal from where he was just a few months ago. The war in Israel is not even sort of settled. If anything, it seems to be heating up. Syria, Aleppo, we all remember that a few years ago. That's become a problem again.
South Korea.
South Korea declared martial law and then was immediately undone, and now there's a whole change there. We're talking about tariffs. This week in a horrific fashion, a CEO of a multinational corporation looks like assassinated in Midtown Manhattan. The truth is, this is like a bad Billy Joel song. We didn't start the fire. There's a lot of stuff going on, but none of it is probably majorly impactful. All of this is impactful, yes, but we had our Christmas party last night. It was a great time. And one of the speakers we had, which was unusual, of course, was Brian Lovett, who's been a great friend of ours for a long time and is a brilliant thinker. And I think he said it kind of best. Right now, we're producing about 13 million barrels of crude oil per day as the United States. We're net energy exporters now. We send energy over to other countries. As a matter of fact, Europe is talking about doing a deal to get more liquid natural gas in the United States. Saudi Arabia only produces 9 million barrels of oil per day. So we're at 13, they're at 9. It's tough to care about the rest of the world when we've got great U.S. manufacturing here. We've got a reshoring of manufacturing jobs here. We've got cheap energy prices here. Part of the reason you get involved in all these other foreign wars is over things like commodities and energy. And right now, that doesn't seem to be our issue. And if you're the United States, if you're in a fight with your neighbors and you don't know if you're going to be able to trade with them or trade with your other neighbors, the United States is the best market to go to. And remember, we're not net sellers. We're net buyers of everybody's stuff. So we're not really concerned if a certain country is not going to buy our products because we already don't sell to most countries. We buy from them. Really, it's a disruption in our supply chain, less than our ability to produce more for them to consume. So maybe the U.S. as a trading partner is maybe even more important with some of these major turmoils because the U.S. dollar still looks great. It's still the currency of the world, and if you don't know if your neighbor's going to be willing to trade with you tomorrow, making the U.S. a target of your production is not the worst idea. So for us, I guess when we look at it is, are we making any major changes? You know, Jerry, going back to you real quick, we've been in this industry a long time. How many industry experts have talked to us about being 30-40% international
Oh,
for
many
years?
times over a decade.
It seems like it's kind of endless.
Yeah, why aren't you guys more international?
As a matter of fact, if you own life path funds in your 401k, one of the big issues people are starting to realize now is most of those were aligned 30-40% international.
Correct.
And they've done terrible this year because international equities have not performed nearly as well as the United States. And we've always believed the United States leads the way. And not just because of the great innovation here, but because of, we got a giant moat around us. We got two big oceans. And yeah, if we're net energy producers, we have less involvement with everybody else. So for us, no, we're very excited about the US's prospect looking forward. We're very much in favor of trade. Trade is very important, helps stabilize the entire globe. But if there's a beneficiary from turmoil, it's probably again the United States. And if you buy the S&P 500, it's a little bit skewed right now, but traditionally, depending on the price of the U.S. dollar, between 40 and 60%, usually 40 to 50% of the earnings come from overseas. So if you want international exposure, you're probably getting 40% of it just from the S&P 500.
Exactly.
So we've talked about that in the past, and for us, we think the U.S. looks even better. So are we making any major changes as a result of geopolitical uncertainty? The answer is ultimately no. Even some of the international companies we buy, they tend to have very high markets in the United States because the United States is very, very powerful and has limited disruption to new consumer purchases.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, but the economy looks strong. We're not seeing a recession going forward. And yeah, the geopolitical pieces out there, it sounds terrible. None of these things are good, but with Israel and Saudi Arabia and Ukraine, who would have guessed we'd have oil under $70? Who would have guessed we'd have oil under $100? I can tell you right now, the phone calls and emails I got in 2022 would say nobody. But we do.
But we do. It's there. Let's move on to our book recommendations. Once again, a reminder to send us your questions, service@ohairwealth.com, or text or call, both at the same number. Thinking in Bets, book by Annie Duke, is our book recommendation for the remainder of this month as well. Funny story, I met her at the World Series of Poker one year, many years ago. Shrewd poker player, but very nice person to engage with. Why don't you take us through the book a little bit?
Yeah, we thought it was an excellent book, and it's a good reminder that you have to think this way. And when we're creating portfolios, when we're thinking about the markets, this is how we're thinking about it. Sometimes you're wrong, but long term you've made the right decision, and sometimes you made the wrong decision and it turns out right. And if anybody knows this, you don't bet on snake eyes. Right. When you're rolling dice, you should bet on a 7 because 7's most popular. You're more likely to win betting on 7. That's why if you play craps, the house has the advantage because 7's going to come out first.
This coming from a guy who hates to gamble, there.
Hate gambling.
Don't take that advice.
The odds are in their favor, so that's why I don't do it. But because of that, you know what the bet should be, and you make the correct bet over time because over time you'll win. That's how you should think about everything. So recently, it's any of these geopolitical things we're talking about. If you make a bet on it or make a major change, you should be asking yourself why. So anytime you're thinking about something doesn't go your way, there's always a chance you flip a coin and it lands on its edge. But that doesn't mean that you can't. It's not a 50-50 shot.
You stay up making these things up.
I don't. I stay up right off the cuff. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
And we segued out to another Billy Joel song. You may be right, I may be crazy, but we are done for this week. It is the month of December. We are excited. It is the most wonderful time of the year. Ever Safe, Ever Plans. Please keep an eye out on the mail for those complete instructions, QR code scannable. And worst case scenario, please email or call us with any questions upon receiving that. It's on its way to you. On behalf of JJ and the rest of the team, I'm Jerry. We really hope you have a great rest of your weekend and enjoy the month of December. We'll be back to you soon.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.